And at 6 p.m. every evening, we have experts joining us on the broadcast, and we bring forth some of the questions that our viewers have and have been writing to us with. And today's subject is vaccines and vaccine doses and the options available for the public on vaccines. Let me quickly introduce our panel this evening. Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan, Senior Consultant, Infectious Disease Expert from the Gleneagles Global Health City in both Chennai and Bengaluru, joining us on the broadcast this evening, along with Dr. Mukund Penurkar, who's the Secretary of the API, which is the Association of Physicians of India in Pune, and also a Managing Director at Sanjeevan Hospital in Pune. Dr. Rajesh Malhotra will be joining us. He's the Chief of Trauma COVID Center, AIIMS, will be joining us live from Delhi in a few minutes from now. But let me go across straight to Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan with the first question that's coming in. Dr. Swaminathan, one of our viewers asking, what is the scientific data available that proves dosage gap of 12 weeks is needed, especially for COVISHIELD? That's question one, and Dr. Swaminathan can take that.
It's not a question of needed, it's a question of what is better. In that, when we initially start doing a study, the idea is to get as many people out of harm's way as possible. That's why we try to get the vaccine in as quickly as possible by doing studies which are 1 month apart. If I have to do the study at 3 months, it's going to take more time for me to finish the study and more time for the vaccine to become available to the general public. So when you started in a pandemic kind of situation, you want to get the study done as quickly as possible to show a benefit so that the benefit can be passed on. If I did 3 months interval right at the beginning, then you'll have to wait that much longer to get the vaccine. Now that that's been got out of the way, obviously the study also had a built-in arm looking at 3 months' time. And that 3-month arm has shown probably benefit which may be slightly better as well. So obviously this is an evolving area, and therefore more information is likely to come. If you look at historically all the vaccines we have used, we do have a gap built in between the first and the second dose, and it all depends on the kind of vaccine and the science behind it and things like that. It's not a fixed thing, it can change over time.
Introducing Dr. Rajesh Malhotra, Chief of Trauma and COVID Center at AIIMS from New Delhi, joining us on the broadcast as well. Dr. Malhotra, good evening, but let me take the second question to Dr. Mukund Penurkar. Dr. Penurkar, second question coming in from our viewers. Is shortage the reason, or scientific study the reason for increasing the gap in COVISHIELD dosage? So there's a lot of fake news going, doing the rounds, many people being misled also on that. So what is scientifically the reason? Is shortage the reason, or scientific study the reason for increasing the gap in COVISHIELD dosage? Dr. Penurkar, you can take that.
Right. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to explain this particular question. See, it is the scientific study which has been done in the Lancet in the I think Britain, where they have suggested that because that time whenever the vaccination was started in UK, they also had some shortage, and thereafter taking the advantage of that shortage, you can say, they have done one study that because of different reasons, the people have taken the second dose at different intervals. So if we see between the two interval between the two things, if it was less than 6 weeks, the overall efficiency was 55.1. If the interval between the two vaccine doses was 6 to 8 weeks, the interval was around 60%. Sorry, the efficiency was around 60%. If the interval was 9 to 11 weeks, the efficiency rose to 63.7%. And if the interval between the two doses is more than 12 weeks, now whatever is being recommended between 12 to 6 weeks, the efficiency has rose to 81.3%. So taking the advantage from this particular study, our expert group has recommended that we should take the second dose of COVISHIELD after the 12 weeks or between 12 to 16 weeks. And if you ask me, one more advantage of this particular thing is there are definitely advantages of taking even one dose of vaccine during the second wave. We have seen so many patients getting one dose of vaccine, and those have been protected adequately with even the first dose. And if you can ask me, this is if those who are more than 45 years of age, the mortality is almost the 88% mortality is above the 45 years of age. So whatever the doses we have already given after the 45 years, even if with the single dose, if we can reduce the mortality, the basic problem between for this COVID is the mortality. So if we are protecting our Indian population, especially in regards to the severe disease or mortality, that is good enough. But overall, the decision has been taken from the scientific study, and we welcome this decision.
Okay. Let me take the third question to Dr. Malhotra. Dr. Malhotra, third question coming in from our viewers. Should those who have taken the Covishield vaccine with 8-week gap be worried? I don't think so, but I'd let you answer the question. Yes.
Yeah. So no, there is no need to worry for those who have taken at 8 weeks. Like it has been said, there are multiple factors which are at play when you give a vaccine. One is, of course, every vaccine is distinct, so you have to generate data about every vaccine, as we know. The second is that, these vaccines, when they were being developed during the pandemic, we were looking at what is the minimum practical gap between the two doses where we should see the effect, but we should not wait too long for the second dose, because that we need to reduce the susceptible population, the at-risk population. So it was, more studies were done for 3 weeks to 4 weeks gap, and that is why the results came out. But that doesn't mean that is the best interval. So as we generate more and more data and we realize that the effectiveness is preserved or even better with delayed intervals, it's bound to change. I will also tell you that when we did the initial studies about antibodies, we found that after 3 months, the antibodies started waning and the levels started going down. So if you look by that perspective, when the antibodies are already circulating, it's less likely for the booster dose to be effective or the second dose to be effective than when it is just weaning off and then give it another stimulus so that it works. So that is the reason. But then I think those who have taken it at 8 weeks, I don't think they have anything to worry about, but anything after 6 weeks is fine.
Okay. Dr. Swaminathan, the fourth question coming your way. If I got a viewer asking that if I got my first dose of vaccine and tested positive, so I got my first dose and I tested positive, do I still have to wait for 6 more months for the second dose? As per the new, notification yesterday.
Yeah. The new notification bases the logic on this fact. Number one, when you get the first dose of vaccine, if you get COVID immediately after that, you would not have had the benefit of the vaccine. But within about 3 weeks of getting the first dose of vaccine, it will kick in. The second thing is the COVID also gives you a boost in terms of the antibody response. So it is probably going to keep you going. Now, modeling from what the data that we have seems to suggest that if you do have an episode of COVID, irrespective of whether we had a dose of vaccine or not, you are reasonably protected for at least 3 months. 6 months may be the outside of that. So I am very comfortable saying 3 months. 6 months, I'd like to see a little more data before I back it. But if you've had one dose and you've had COVID, you may be okay till 6 months.
Next question coming in from our viewers. Can doctors explain, Dr. Penurkar, you can take that. Can doctors explain why the intervals are different for vaccine doses in different countries, not just in India, but in different countries? For example, Covishield or AstraZeneca vaccines in the UK could have different intervals, gaps compared to the Covishield vaccine in India. So someone's writing and asking, can doctors explain why the intervals are different for different doses, for different vaccines?
Right. So as I explained earlier, everything is on the scientific basis. They have done different studies in different parts of the world, and they have come to the conclusion that this is possible, because see, even if we try to tell someone that we have to take the vaccine on at the end of 4 weeks, and if we specified that date, our Indian population the people may not come on that particular day or that particular time, and they may the vaccine may be delayed because of some reason or the other. So taking the cue from this particular thing, they have studied differently in different countries, and they have come to a conclusion that we can definitely take this particular dosage after a gap of 12 weeks. So in India, after the first dose of Covishield, they have studied the immunity, like the antibody levels in different populations, and have recommended that it can be okay if we take the vaccine after the 12 weeks, especially in case of Covishield. The similar studies have not been done with Covaxin or the other vaccines. Therefore, they have recommended that this can be possible to take after 12 weeks. And as Dr. Malhotra explained, there is no need to worry those who have taken vaccine earlier. We can have antibody levels, or we can have studies regarding those patients also. If somebody has developed corona after the first dose, the disease may have been mild or at the most moderate. And what we can do is we can just go on studying such part of population, and then recommend the different doses for or different durations for different populations also. This, so everything is possible, and whatever we are giving now is after the scientific evidence. As you said, there are different durations for different countries. In Britain, it is 12 weeks. In Spain, it is 12 to 16 weeks. In yeah, different kinds of European Union countries, it is 12 weeks. In Bangladesh, they are saying 8 to 12 weeks. So in India now 12 to 16 weeks. This is the first time this has been formulated, and we will go on studying this particular duration, and thereafter maybe over a period of 6 months the durations may also change. But now the recommendation is between 12 to 16 weeks, and we have to follow that. We have to follow our Indian government. They are definitely studying very hard, and they are giving some recommendations which are useful for Indian population.
Let me take the next question to Dr. Malhotra. A question coming in: why is the interval between doses different for Covishield and Covaxin? A similar question, but Dr. Malhotra, you want to take that? One of our viewers asking, why is the interval between doses different for Covishield and Covaxin?
It's like when you compare COVID and the Covaxin and the Covishield, I mean, you are comparing apples and oranges. But the common thing is both of them are fruits. So both of them are meant for protection against COVID-19, but they are two different vaccines. Now, the Covishield is a carrier-mediated vaccine which presents the spike protein, like a protein, to the body to start forming antibodies against that. Whereas Covaxin is a killed virus vaccine. So, both of them have different mechanism of action. One vaccine, the Covishield, enters the cells and then modifies it. The Covaxin doesn't enter the cells. It lies within the blood. So the cells are attracted to it and they start attacking. So these are two different vaccines with two different mechanisms of action. It's like you are saying that, why do I have to take 500 milligram paracetamol for fever when, 300 milligram of ibuprofen can do the same. So it's two different drugs and with two different doses. So that's why you have to, and that's how they have been studied, because it has been studied that how much is the immune response to the first dose, and when does it get protective, and when is the second dose effective in giving a boost in the response. So it is like the manufacturer's recommendation for what works best for that product. So take it that way. Don't try to compare one vaccine with the other. How will you calculate the dose when the Johnson & Johnson comes, which is a single dose vaccine?
Dr. Swaminathan, the next question coming in: will increasing the time gap between doses lead to a slower vaccine drive? Technically,
no, actually, I would argue that it will be a more robust vaccine drive, because we can now reach more people faster as compared to having to give it at a shorter duration. So I think it is a good move, and as long as it's in keeping with science, I don't think any of them need to be worried. I think this is a good move, and it was due.
Okay. Okay, so let me put the last question to Dr. Malhotra. Dr. Malhotra, with one of our viewers asking, with a longer Pfizer and Covishield dose interval, will single-shot vaccines be more preferred? For example, you have the Sputnik Light, which is likely to be manufactured in India as a single-shot vaccine. One of our viewers asking, with a longer Pfizer and Covishield dose interval, will India prefer, or should we prefer, a single-shot vaccine?
So let me tell, there is nothing about preference in a vaccine. You should take the first one which you can get, number one. Number two is many vaccines like Pfizer, since it has been mentioned, have shown a great deal of protection even with the one dose, going on to, almost 80 to 90% is on study. So I don't think you need to start, breaking up or try to overanalyze the vaccines which are available. I think the first vaccine which you get, you should take it, because as per WHO, if any vaccine during the pandemic is 50% effective, it's good enough. Anything above that is a privilege, and all vaccines are showing more than 50% protection, even with a single dose, even when they are meant to be two-dose vaccines. So don't worry about it. Don't wait for nasal vaccine, single-dose vaccine, this vaccine, that vaccine. Go for the first one, which is available for you as soon as possible.
At this point, I'd like to thank Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan, Dr. Mukund Penurkar, and Dr. Rajesh Malhotra for spending your time taking some of those questions directly from our viewers. Thank you, doctors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.